We are upon that most wonderful time of the year, and happy pre-Thanksgiving, Steve Edwards. How you doing?
By golly, we're getting ready. I'm gonna go have dinner with some family over in Phoenix, and Thanksgiving dinner and this sort of thing. But we've been decorating for Christmas around here. I mean, we even got snow people back there. Did you see
I
that?
saw that y'all been busy getting the snowmen together.
Yeah. Well, we had Susan's girlfriend. They've been together they've been friends since they were 3 years old.
Oh.
And so the her and her husband and her mom came, and she's just full of life. I mean, she's laughing all the time. Her and Susan are just tickling, and it's just amazing. Just so they put up. This place is covered with Christmas stuff and Christmas lights outside. We got to remember we're on the end of a dead end road. Ain't nobody gonna see us. Have a lead a wave, baby. We
But
are
you'll
going to have
know. But you'll know.
yeah, well, we're going to have a Christmas party here for. I have a Bible study I teach on Thursday night, so on the 9th, everybody's coming out here. And, anyway, it's pretty. We got lights everywhere.
So I've got something pretty odd to share with you. I'm actually in a car right now. I'm in
You're
a
in a
car.
car.
I'm in a car, and I
Uh-huh.
know it doesn't look like it. I'm in a car driving my family to Prescott to meet up with all of our cousins, aunts, uncles, all that stuff. So what that means is actually we are recording this actually earlier in the day. So if you are watching, if you're hanging out with Steve and I right now, this is a pre-recorded pre-Thanksgiving episode of the Ask Steve Show, where we get all of your mule and donkey questions answered. The thing that we want more than anything else for you is to gain trust and get results with your animal. That you go out there and the time that you invest with your animal actually turns into an amazing experience. And this is probably the first pre-recorded episode we've ever done, I think. And it's all because I've got to get on the road. I am on the road, in fact, right now. So if you are watching this, and you are, since you are watching this right now, just know that we are so grateful that we've been able to spend the last several years doing this show with you. We're so grateful that you're here watching this episode today. And we've got several great questions that have come in over the last week that we're going to go ahead and we're going to answer. So just interact with us like it's a normal broadcast. The first thing that, if this is your first time, the first thing that we ask you to do is that you let us know that you are watching. And Steve and I will go back and we'll take a look at folks who watched. Put your name, where you're watching from, and what your favorite Thanksgiving dish is in the comment section. Whether that's a side, whether it's a dessert, whether it's just straight up turkey. What's your name, where you're watching from, and what your favorite Thanksgiving dish is in the comment section. We would love to be able to see that you are here, that you're hanging out with us, spending time with us. The second thing that we ask is if you do have any mule and donkey questions, put those in the comment section as well. We're not going to get to them today, but we will use them for next week's broadcast. So we'll make sure to go back through all of the questions that come through today, and we will use those for next week's broadcast. And then the third thing that we ask is that you share the broadcast. So if you're watching on YouTube, the way you do that is just by subscribing to our channel and clicking like on the video. If you're on Facebook, the way that you do that is clicking the share button and then sharing that to your page, or just clicking the @ symbol in the comments and tagging a friend or family member who is into the mules and the donkeys, and you want to let them in on the best kept secret on the internet as far as it goes with mules and donkeys. So Steve, I've got a few questions here. Of course, if there's anything you want to talk about, we just had an awesome event last Wednesday night all about bits, and I'll put a link out there in the email that we send to all folks, letting them know where they can go watch that replay. Had an awesome event on bits last week. If there's anything you want to talk about special during this episode, we'll have plenty of time to do it. But before we just kind of let you loose, how about I give you a little bit of direction and we get to our first question of today's show? You okay with that?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Okay. This first question, this one comes from Leslie. She sent us a message over on Facebook, and she says, maybe you could help with a problem I'm having with my mule. My mule will stand nicely all day at home or at a show or when he does not know any of the horses are on the ride. But if he knows one of the other horses and it's out of his sight or rides off, he will act up and even get away from me. I can't hold him. I have stud chain on him. I've put him over the nose, under the chin, and in his mouth, and he still runs to him. People have nicknamed him Ram, Runaway Mule. You ever heard that one before? I like that all right. He is easy to catch and bring back to the trailer, but it's getting really old, I imagine. I now use another longer lead rope so he will go and gets pulled back, but he seems to know the exact second I'm unhooking and hook back up and takes off. Trainers have told me I need to go back to the basics, on leading, but he will lead great, so I'm confused. I've had him his whole life, so I have created this and allowed it to become a habit, but I'm getting older and I don't need this problem. Any advice would be great.
Oh, yeah. Well, here you go, folks. We got a lady who has had this mule from a baby. I've talked to Leslie. She sent me pictures. And folks, unfortunately, she's been very fortunate. Let's put it like that. But unfortunately, we kind of got the problem, so now we have to deal with it. The trainers are correct when they say we got to start from groundwork. That's right. But understand, folks, that horse groundwork and mule groundwork and donkey groundwork are two different things. One for the horse, one for the mule and donkey. And you hear them say stud chains. Oh, yeah. They love, folks, they're still living in the back in the 1800s or something. I don't know, with the chains and all that stuff. So we had several things. Number one, the mule is very subservient to horses, very subservient. And so very subservient. It's extremely difficult when they get silly and want to be with another horse. And since they're extremely subservient to horses, they will fall in love with one. And it is like trying to separate Steve and Susan after, all the years that we've been married, a bunch of them. And I love it. Anyway, here we go. So that's very difficult to do. You're not going to change what they are in the way of being a prey animal. So they feel more comfortable with that horse, and so you have to make that horse uncomfortable for them. So, like I told her, don't buy the saddle yet. Don't buy the breech and the breast collar. That's another whole thing, folks. But start with groundwork using the come along hitch. Start in a small area and work your way out. Eventually get to where you'll have a horse walk by while you're on the ground, and you're going to bump the nose. Now, you're getting ready to get real tired. Your arm's going to get real sore. And it could even be to this point that you may lose some hair, and then sometimes even that mule may even bleed a little bit. Okay, it happens because you're bumping on the nose. But it's nothing compared to you getting hurt, all right? Nothing. So she has to start with groundwork, and she has to start with the come-along hitch. Folks, don't rely on the halter. The halter is your crutch. You should be able to walk your mule over, drop the lead rope on the ground, and the mule not move. Yes, you should be able to do that. You should be able to groom it, do everything you need to do. Do I train one to be tied to a hitching post? Yes, with a properly adjusted halter, because everybody does. But if you want to get the ultimate goal, what the mule can do, you train that mule to stand still and quiet with the come along hitch. That's what you need to do. And that's really important, folks. Don't rely on that halter. Unfortunately, we're used to going over, tying the mule, and everybody say, okay, the mule is going to stand still and quiet. No. That's the best place for you to get hurt when they're tied up to the side of the trailer, or when they are tied to a hitching post or some place like that. Look, they can pull back, they can fall on you, they can move their bodies to the right or left and hurt you. Where learning to be ground tied is far better. Now, we got some video that we've shown in the past of my lead rope hanging on the ground and me picking up the feet of the mule not tied. We got some different things like that. So, folks, the come along hitch is what's most important. So going back to other things, she was doing everything else wrong saddle-wise, Dave, that we talk about, okay?
Yeah.
She had a britchin on, but she only had one. She had the two straps instead of going to the bars of the saddle. She had it going to the center like a crooper.
Mm-hmm.
So the saddle was going forward. And she said she didn't think it moved. And I said, well, according to the pictures I see, the saddle's sitting on top of scapula. And she's using a horse breast collar, hard and fast. So what's it doing? Pulling the saddle forward. And she's using billets, where they're long straps hanging from the back and on the side. And she said, Steve, it's a mule saddle. And I said, we can call it a pig saddle if you want, but if it's not working, it ain't going to work. I said, folks, she said it's got mule bars. And I says, well, there again, the rest of the saddle is not designed for a mule. The rest of the saddle is designed for a horse, folks. So, she says, well, what about your mule bars? I said, well, wrong. I don't have mule bars. My trees are my trees. Nobody else's. None. And so, Dave, here she's had this mule all this time, and she said all of a sudden, no, folks, it was coming. The little signs that we miss. We're so, let's go riding on Fluffy. Let's get Fluffy and go for a ride. Oh, Fluffy looked to the left. No big deal. Let's go for a ride. Fluffy looked to the right. Oh, no big deal. Let's keep on riding. Fluffy wanted to go with this other horse. Oh, no big deal. And then one day, Fluffy says, I'm done. We're out of here. And away it goes. Now, she's really fortunate. She hasn't been hurt. Okay. The mule was really fortunate. Somebody else didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
As well. So, folks, it all of a sudden happened. No. It is coming. Take your time. Read the mule. There I am, Dave. That's one of my tangents.
That's good. Hey, go on them. That's a great question, Leslie. I appreciate you taking the time to send it in and ask because, that's a theme that we hit on regularly over the course of every season we do of this show is that, yes, you may not be seeing a problem now, or you may make an adjustment today and everything seems like it's working, but you don't know until a year, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, one day, that adjustment you made in 2019, all of a sudden, the mule just can't take it because they don't show pain the way we show pain. They don't show discomfort the way a dog or a cat shows discomfort. They are unique. And one of the greatest things we can do for these animals is to respect their uniqueness, respect the unique way that they were created, that they were formed and shaped. And that's really what we try to do with this program is help you understand that uniqueness from everything Steve's learned since the early 80s. So great question. Really appreciate you asking.
And one more little thing there, Dave.
Yeah.
This, folks, look, this is horse stuff. Listen to this. This is important. This is horse training. When a rope halter is adjusted too high and the knots are out here, that's on bone, folks. And like this lady, she can't turn him no more. But when the thing is adjusted down on the nose where it shuts the wind off, now we're talking mule and donkey. Listen, chains through the mouth, across the nose, underneath there, that's horse stuff. Look, when you start messing with the mule's nose like that, you're going to make him horrible. That's why the come along hitch. It's really important. So what do horse people do? They use horse techniques. They may call themselves a mule trainer. They may be a mule clinician. But just a few simple things. When you see that halter adjusted incorrectly, like all the other horses, they're not mule training, folks. They're horse training, trying to make money off of being a mule trainer. Okay.
One of the things
I'm not going to call any particular names, but there's a big difference, in the way a mule thinks compared to the horses.
One of the cool things about this program is we've encountered quite a number of folks who have considered themselves horse trainers their whole lives, and they come in and Steve, if folks go back and they watch the comments from these live streams, you're going to see person after person say, I've trained horses all my lives. I have my first mule. I'm learning they're way different than horses. I mean, almost verbatim, different people saying the exact same thing. And of course, we say, hey, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. We're glad that you recognize it. Yes, you're absolutely right. They're different. But that is a theme that we see over and over. So great question, Leslie. Thank you so much for asking it. The next question, this one came in from Sarah. She watched one of our old replays on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. She says, watching from Dove Creek, Colorado, it's getting colder. My question is, are mini mules like mules? Are mini mules like a regular mule, Steve?
Well, yes, they are. The only difference is they're smaller. When you look at a draft mule or when you look at a mini mule, they got the daddy, the donkey, the mother, the horse. They're a mule, okay? Yes, you can do a henny, but the only way you can tell if it's a henny is a DNA testing. They got, the looks are similar. I've had people that bring me for sure a henny mule, and they know the mother, they knew the father. And then I'll put that henny mule next to a mule and say, all right, which one's the henny? And everybody will look at shorter ears, keener head, things like that's not it. But yes, look for disposition, folks. Hey, Dave, I got some of the greatest mule and donkey people in the world. I was kind of feeling a little bit down yesterday, thinking I really would like to go fishing rather than boxing up all the stuff and shipping it. And then I get this neat lady, Mrs. Marks, and she said, oh, Steve, I'm so glad I found you. This person, we was trying to get these mules to work, and she was showing me this and doing that, and it was really good. And all of a sudden, I found this mule, and it's everything Steve Edwards said it should be, and I bought it. And she says, it's the greatest thing in the world. Oh, it made me, I'm thinking, gosh, I done that. I helped that lady out, And then I had another lady, here again, I want to go fishing. Yeah. I don't want to be boxing up stuff. I want to go fishing. And then I had another lady calls me up. She says, I've named my mule Steve. I said, really? She says, yeah. She says, everything about this mule is like you. It even dresses like you, Got my mule, Steve Edwards saddle, yada, yada. So by the time I'm feeling down, Dave, and saying, I'm 72 years old. I don't want to do this no more. No, then I get these people that are doing it themselves because I give them a few simple things to do, okay? Just like Leslie. She's all ready to buy a saddle. I said, don't buy the saddle. No. Get the mule rider's martingale and go to training on the ground. Get to know them first. Don't go climbing up there and head to the hospital. Don't do that, So, yeah, many mules, disposition, folks, okay? Disposition, okay? Go for that first. Then go conformation, especially when you're riding. On a mini, it doesn't matter that much because you're going to be driving them and packing them. But yes, they're the same mental as they are with the big ones.
Great question, Sarah. Really appreciate that. Next question. This one comes in from Dale. He says, I have a 1-year, 4-month-old mule named Hawkeye. My question is on getting him started on the right hoof. Should I go find a good trainer to give him a good start? Me personally, I have very little training experience with mules, little with horses, but with a little horse sense. Also, can you recommend a good trainer near Medford, Oregon? Thank you for your time and advice. Would be much appreciated. I'm worrying if I try all myself, I can ruin him. I know one thing, not to take him to a horse trainer. Great question, Dale. Steve, is Dale able to do this himself? Is he able to make this happen, or does he need to go out there and find someone who can make it happen?
Dale's the best trainer he's ever going to find. Folks, I can count on basically 1.5 hands people I know that can train and do a good job on a mule. That's it. Everybody that's listening to my voice can do a better job than a horse trainer. I can't tell you how many people have contacted me and said, this is what I got. And I said, why didn't you do it yourself? Well, I was afraid I'd mess him up. Well, now you got a horse trainer messed him up. So what's the difference? All right. It's just that you paid out all that money and kept that thing all that time. And that mule don't know that trainer. Okay. The mule knows you. The mule trusts you. Do it yourself. All of it. Okay. Now, just like the lady was talking about earlier, Leslie, she had this mule from a baby. Okay. All this time. And she realized she was the one that made the mistakes. She realized that everybody's going to do it. How do you think I learned about this? I made tons of mistakes. I ruined a lot of mules, a lot of mules. But I found enough now that's why I'm here sharing it. 72 years old. I don't know how long I'm going to be around. So that's why I'm giving you this information. It's fun, Dave. I was just talking to a couple of people this morning. One guy said he was on his way to work and he was listening to our podcast. He says, you and that Dave guy, you should do a good job of getting the information across. And then I was just talking to another guy just a few minutes ago up in Sholo. He says, I was just watching you on TV. He says, I got this all figured out now, So I love it when people say, man, you and Dave, you make that show. I said, yeah, that Dave, he knows this stuff. He said, well, how do you learn that? And I said, because he's been listening to me all the time, I said, Dave teaches me all that fancy electronic stuff, and I teach him how to watch a mule do weather reports. You ever watch a mule do weather reports?
No, you haven't taught that one to me yet.
Oh, you know what, folks? I've been saving this one because mules can tell you the weather far better than those folks that own that thing called a boob tube. I think they call it TV, something like that. I don't pay attention to it. But listen, watch a mule. He's always telling you the weather. When you see his tail moving back and forth, it's going to be windy that day. When you see his tail wet, it's going to be rated. When you see the tail hanging loose, it's quiet, sunny day. You see? You watch his ass and you'll know what's going on. He's half-assed. Ain't nothing finer than a mule, half-ass or not, he's a fine mule. Dave, these mules are great. We just got to get out of the world of go and think this mule out. That's how I did it, folks. Up at the Grand Canyon, you're going down that canyon and you're thinking, why am I here? It's 10 below zero. And then you start praying and you start thinking, and I start thinking about a mule. How am I going to get to his mind? And there I am. That's what I'm sharing with it. Got it. Okay. Hurry up, Dave. You got to go to Thanksgiving. What
I'm on the road right now. I'm on the road. I'm hitting
75.
Yeah, I think I just hit a 75 zone.
All right, good.
We got a question here from Nolan. He says, will your saddle pads work on horses?
They're not designed for a horse. There's a different back there. Do I have people using the saddle pad? Yes. Okay. On their horses. Yes, I do. Okay. Do I suggest it? No, I don't. But so far, nobody has sent me a saddle pad back and said it didn't work. Because I tell you in the very beginning, it's designed different for the mule. But people have used it. Go ahead.
Very good. Great question. Thank you so much, Nolan. Next question. This one was emailed in by Pam. She says, I hope you are still doing some private sessions. Now, real quick on that, we do 1, maybe 2 sessions per year where we will do a group clinic in the springtime out at Queen Valley Mule Ranch. As far as individual private lessons anymore, life has changed, times have changed, priorities changed, things just change. And so Steve doesn't do private training anymore, and that's just because he's busy with the grandkids, with hanging out with Susan, traveling the world, and talking to folks on the telephone, making sure that they get results. So we're able to impact more lives now with the internet, with text messages and this sort of thing than we were ever able to do with any type of clinics, and we're grateful for that. But the question that Pam has is, I have a new to me 20-year-old mule that shakes her head when I try to bridle her. She accepts the bit nicely, is naughty or shy, But when she sees the bridle, the head shake begins. I am in Catalina for the winter. I have watched your videos and others regarding bridling, but I'm not making progress and need some instruction. Please let me know if you're doing private sessions, when you would be available, and what do you charge. So it won't be until probably February or March, Pam. We're hoping to do something around then, but that doesn't mean we can't help you right now. Steve, what would you say Pam should consider doing with this head shaking issue every time the mule sees the bridle?
Okay, so Dave, how about we look at April 8th, 9th, and 10th for doing a clinic here? I
All
sent
right.
you a little text. Maybe you didn't get it, but look at that
All
time
right.
frame. I'm looking at my calendar, so that's what we're kind of looking at. Now, the head shaking. Number one, go get the teeth done. Make sure every year, folks, every year, you get your teeth floated. Don't listen to that veterinarian that says you don't need his teeth floated. You take your upper jaw and lower jaw and you rank them back and forth and you listen. You hear a bunch of grinding, you got teeth problems. You push the little button on the right hand side by the eyeball and you see the socket puff up and down really big, you've got teeth problems. So get that done first. Always get it done first. Number two, what kind of bit are you using? Because you have to remember, snaffle bits, folks, are made for basic training and building a foundation. My correctional mouthpiece, my trail rider bit is designed for a finished mule. That's all the tool you need. Majority of bits out there, folks, are made for horses. You go in the tack room, you go in the tack stores, horses, okay? The ones that they're calling mule bits look more like a chainsaw blade. So that's what I would do. Now, number two, your bridle. Your bridle, folks, has to be designed for your bit. Just a bridle just makes a bit can hang incorrectly. Now, one of the things you need to know is your brow band needs to be at least 19 inches. Really, really important. That way, that helps set the side pieces kind of correct where the bit can hang right. Now, I spent a lot of time looking at these details of bridles and bits and this sort of thing to design what I have. Now, my Mule Rider's martingale comes complete with bridle, reins, and all, and a video how to. And then the trail rider bit, I've got a bridle that I designed that's beta, and I've got one design that's leather that's made for the trail rider bit. So there it is. Now, here's the next part. If she's shaking her head in the very beginning, it could be two things. One, it could be the mouth, get that taken care of. The other thing, it could be your brow band. They're not wide enough, so her ears are a problem.
Great question. Thanks for asking. Next question comes in from Scroggs Horse Training over on YouTube. Says, can a jack out of a quarter horse mare and a mule be able to breed and impregnate a mule colt?
A jack out of a quarter horse mare, that's impossible. A jack has to come from a jenny.
Okay.
Okay, so a jack is a male stud donkey. And you can also call them, people call them jacks and jennies. You can also call them a jack if they're gelded. So I know it's a kind of oxymoron, but here's the deal. It's impossible for a jack to be bred out of a mare, okay? And so, well, no, that's correct. The mare is the mother. So I'm not quite sure about his question. Say it again, Dave.
So he
There's
says,
something there.
can a jack, I know it's a little bit of kind of like a tongue twister. It's kind of like mule
Yeah.
and donkey gaming. Can
Yeah.
a jack out of a quarter horse mare, so the mare is the mother, the mare
Mhm.
produces a jack,
Mhm.
and a mule, so the quarter horse mare and a
Yeah.
mule be able to breed a mule colt.
Okay. So the mare, then she would have the baby, but it would be a mule. It would not be a donkey.
Okay.
Okay. So if so, he's most likely calling the mule a jack, a breeding, and he's thinking he's got testicles so he can breed others, and they cannot.
Okay.
Okay. Matter of fact, a mule with testicles is one of the most dangerous animals in the world. They're horrible. They will stomp you to death trying to breed you. Okay. So, folks, anytime you have a mule bred from a horse and it comes out a male, always castrate him, and castrate him just as soon as both testicles are hanging. Castrate him immediately. Never ever let them stay out. You'll have bigger problems than you can ever imagine. So I think that's it, Dave, is he's thinking that a male mule can breed and make other mules, and no, he can't.
All right. Very good. Thanks so much for watching there, Scroggs. Appreciate it. So, hey,
Yeah.
Steve, this is a
Yeah.
pre-recorded episode. Which,
Yes.
if you're just tuning in right now, I want to say thank you for joining us. I am on the road on the way to Prescott, Arizona, with my family. Steve is out there bringing winter wonderland to the desert out there in Queen Valley. This is our special pre-Thanksgiving episode. We recorded it a little bit earlier on in the day, and we're grateful to have you hanging out with us today, right now. So thanks for joining us. Even though I'm on the road and even though you're out putting lights on the house, we've got Kate coming in from Queensland, Australia, with a question. She's taken us international even on this pre-Thanksgiving episode. My question is, is a 2-year-old donkey too young for a harness? Is a 2-year-old donkey too young for a harness?
No, I would start him with harness easy for a 2-year-old donkey. Absolutely. The biggest thing you always want to worry about on your young animals is, are the knees closed? So even trotting with can create problems in the cartilage in the knees. So always make sure the knees are closed. You can do that by going to your vet, and they can do a sonogram on it and tell you. Would I start him by walking him around, driving him behind? Yep. Would he be dragging a tire? Sure, I could have him do that. Start with a small tire, work to a big one. But you bet, I would start doing foundation training to a 2-year-old, whether it be a mule or a horse. 2-year-olds got clean minds, and it's a good time to start putting a foundation on them.
Next question. This one was emailed from Kelly. Says, I got my first mule about 2 months ago. She was an auction purchase. She's around 15 years old, and I don't have much background on her. She has an old tongue injury that is healed, but it looks like someone put a rubber band around it. I'm struggling with what kind of bit to use, if any at all. I've been reading about bitless options and would appreciate your thoughts and advice. Also, because she's a draft mule, she has a big head. All her halters have to be draft size, and I'm struggling with finding the right size to fit her head. Right size anything to fit her head. I did make my saddle and pad purchase tonight from your website, and I'm looking forward to being able to ride her. However, I still need the right headgear, and I'm hoping you can help me with that. Thank you, Kelly.
Yep. I visited with Kelly, and folks, listen to this. She said the tongue looks like somebody had put a rubber band on it and is split on each side. We've talked about this during our bidding program. Folks, when horsemen get a hold of mules, they think they can pull them around like they can a horse. No, you can't. Never pull. Never a solid pull. Always bump, 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 bump. Okay? Ask, tell, demand. Okay? And same thing with the bit. Now, this mule now has a split tongue because horsemen are over pulling. They will pull back really heavy, especially a draft mule on long lines driving. And a snaffle bit, the smooth snaffle bit, is what people are using. We even had a picture of that, Dave, that Bill had sent from Wyoming, and it was only split on one side. This lady has the mule's tongue split on both sides. Should you use a bit? Yes. That's why I use my double twisted wire snaffle bit, folks. It crosses in the middle, and when it crosses, it captures the whole tongue. Or otherwise, what happens is a snaffle bit captures in the center and then when they pull on it, it pulls back. Okay, yeah, there's the split tongue that Bill sent to us. Okay, so it's horrible, folks. And you think you're being nice by using a smooth snaffle bit, and you're not. It's a horse bit, folks. It's a horse bit.
Yeah.
That's why I design. When you go to a clinic and they pull out a smooth snaffle bit, stop right there. Stop right there. Don't do that to your mule. A smooth snaffle bit barely works on a horse, but mules get split tongues from a smooth snaffle bit. And there are some trainers that are using some other bits, and most of that stuff is made in other countries. My stuff, folks, is made in the USA. That bit, my trail riding bit, is made by Rainsman. They've been around for 40, 50 years. Okay, and they are owned now by Steve Tucker and his company Circle Y, and which is he's a wonderful Christian man, and they make my bits, and they've been making my bits for 25 years. They're made by my design, how I designed it for the mule. So the lady right there that's got the split tongue, folks, good reason not to go to a horse trainer, better reason for you to train and get to know your mule. But I want to hurry up and ride him. Well, you may want to hurry up and go to the ER too. Riding, folks, ain't important. The riding part isn't important. Get to know your mule on the ground where you can control him on the ground before you climb up and get in that saddle. I've got 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips to tell you that there's an easier way.
Can't control them on the ground, you sure as heck ain't going to be able to control them in the saddle. So yeah, invest in that groundwork. Got a question from Gary. Gary put this in over on YouTube. I'm 6 foot and 200 pounds with most of my height in my legs. What size range mule would you suggest? Oh, I forgot to mention that I'm 69 years old, if that matters. Some family members think I'm too old to handle a mule. What would you say to Gary there, Steve?
Hey, I guarantee you, Uncle Bud, when he passed away at 97, he was riding a couple of days before that. So, and my hunting partner, Andy, he's gone to home with the Lord now too. But here's the deal. He rode a 14-2 mule we called Beaner. He was a pinto colored mule. So pinto beans, Beaner, there you are. And Andy was 240 pounds and about 6'4". So what you would look good at aesthetically compared to what really works good by yourself, get this, a 14-hand mule, okay? 14-2. I personally ride a 13-2 mule. You guys can't see a picture of him right there, but he's a great mule. He's 13-2. I got him down at the Andrada Ranch. I give him to Randy a long time ago, and he was like a lot of these mules, folks. They're misunderstood. They go to trainers that I don't know how they learn to be a trainer or what or anything. That's another story. This mule is just like a lot of other mules that I've had. Okay, and this mule is he works great. He does everything I want him to do. Why? Because I can communicate with him to do it. That's what I did with the videos, folks. Those videos teach you how to communicate from the ground first. This little mule, he used to rear up in the air. He would run sideways. He would run off to other horses, and they couldn't control him. So a lot of people wasn't riding him, So when I went down there and started riding with Randy, after my hips got better, I started riding this little mule and Rocky, and he's a tough little rascal.
That's great. Yeah. And is Rocky the one that is in the mule saddle training course, the 13-2 that's in the mule saddle training course? And then was it Rufus was the 16 hands high?
The big gray mule?
Yeah. We have a course. I call it the mule saddle training course. I told Steve, I was like, Steve, hey, I'm watching you and I'm learning from you, and it seems like all this stuff, just one thing impacts the next. And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is." I said, "Well, we need to show folks. We need folks to be able to see how the britchin impacts the breast collar, and the breast collar impacts the front cinch, and the front cinch is impacted by the rear cinch, and the rear cinch is impacted by like we need folks to see it." He said, "Well, let's go down to the Andrada Ranch and let's show them." And I said, okay, great. So in 2019, we went down to the Andrada Ranch. We took my 3 boys, and we took about 4 or 5 hours just to record video of Steve showing, number one, how it all fits and works together and why it creates an incredible experience for your mule and for you to use the right equipment at the right size. But then also how it's not about the size of the animal, it's about the unique structure of the animal. How even if it's a 16 hand high all the way down to a 13.2 hand high, it's the same structure and the concepts are the same. So Mule Saddle Training Course, get your hands on that. It's at the muleranch.com website. It's going to be a great education for you. And I'm going to take this opportunity real quick to just welcome you. If you're watching for the first time, we are so glad you're here. I am on the road right now, on the way up to Prescott, Arizona. Steve is outside putting Christmas lights all over your house or his house and saying, you're saying, how can this be? I'm watching them right here live. Well, we have pre-recorded this episode so that we can get all the pre-Thanksgiving stuff done around the house, but we can still bring the Ask Steve show to you today. So we are not doing this live, though you are watching it live. If you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the comment section. We will get to those next week. Matter of fact, if you are watching, tell us your name, where you're watching from, and what your favorite Thanksgiving food is in the comment section. We would love to see that. And I'll tell you what, Steve, my favorite Thanksgiving food is apple pie. What is yours?
Food.
Yeah, all of the above. Steve's going to give a cowboy prayer at lunchtime. He's going to go like this. That's it. That's the cowboy prayer right there for food. So put in the comment section what your favorite Thanksgiving food is like. And if it's like Steve and it's just food, go ahead, put that in there. Any and every mule question you got or donkey question, put those in there as well. We'll make sure to answer them when we're back live next week. And then finally, share the broadcast. If you're on YouTube, you can do this by subscribing to our channel and liking the video. That lets YouTube know that this is a good channel and a good video to recommend. And if you're on Facebook, you can go ahead, click the share button and tag friends and family members in the comments section. Next question we got, this one came in from our friend over on YouTube. Paradise says, is a pellet mineral block diet better for year-round with Timothy hay in the winter on dry lot? I'll be getting my first next year, and I'm researching as much as possible before the time comes. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole bunch of info out there with feeding mules in the Midwest. What would you say to Paradise there, Steve?
Okay, number one, folks, don't waste your money on that mineral block, that black colored, dark colored mineral block. Waste of money. There's not, they don't have enough of the proper vitamins and minerals that you need. Now, depending on your country, you know, sometimes there's vitamins and minerals that are within that hay that works good. That's the biggest problem that we have, folks, is we buy hay thinking that's all they need. No. In that hay, it needs to have certain vitamins and minerals. Now, I have a suggestion in an article called Mules Can't Stand Prosperity, where I talk about the ingredients of the feed. Now, you can take that ingredients and go down and find something close to it, but it's going to be very difficult. So here's the thing. Here's what I would do. Take them when you buy your hay, folks, try to buy a year in advance from one place. Why is that? Because that hay changes. When you go to your hay store, your feed store to pick up hay, you never know when they brought it in, what field they brought it in, or anything else. It can come from here. It can come from Colorado, New Mexico, or even California. Okay? So buy your hay, buy your feed for the year so that it doesn't change. Because here's the thing. You need vitamins and minerals to feed your mules properly. Each mule needs to have its own stall, not turn out into pasture, so that each mule, you can see that you're feeding them and you can watch their poop. Yes, look at their poop. It tells you how much water they're drinking, how the shape it is, and this sort of thing. Really, really important. Okay. Now you can even, here's a little tip. Here's a little tip to see if you got too much sand in the belly. You take a quart mason jar. Yeah, if you can, you know what a mason jar looks like. Take a quart jar and put about 3 road apples in it with, and that's a horse turd, folks, road apples. Anyway, and you take and you put it in the water and you shake it up. And then after about a day or so, when those road apples are breaking down, you can see the sand in the bottom of the jar. And you can tell if your mule, maybe it's got too much sand in his belly, things like that. Give that a consideration. Now, the other thing is, take your mule, take your hay down and get it tested. They can test it for you and tell you everything that's in there. And one of the downsides you're going to find out, there's going to be some things in there you're not going to like, okay, called mouse poop, bird poop, snake parts, things like that. Yes, there's no such thing as clean hay, okay? It's not. That's why I feed nothing but pellet. That pellet is 110% clean. It's got all the vitamins and minerals I need in it and this sort of thing. But test your hay. You can take them. Dave has got some information on that. We've got a couple of articles and some videos. You can take it to an extension center and take your hay in and say, what is this? What I usually do, folks, is I got a pipe with a sharp point and a handle, and I shove it into the bale of hay and I pull it out. And then whatever is in that tube, that pipe, I can shake it out. I can take it to the extension center in a baggie, and they can look through the hay and they can tell you the vitamins and minerals that you're missing. And then you can buy those down at your feed store.
Awesome. Yeah, feed is something that we talk about a lot. Folks have lots and lots of questions about feed. Steve, you talk about Lake and Light, you talk about star milling, you talk about the types of feed, but how much are we supposed to feed? Does the feed change throughout the year? We're getting ready to come up on winter here. Do I need to change it? Is there anything else that you would add about feed in terms of how much quantity to go ahead and feed and just talk about that a little bit?
Okay. Mules and donkeys are like me. I can eat almost any time and graze on especially the candies and stuff that is laying around here now and cookies that are freshly made. Yeah, I can graze that, and I will pay the price with this belly of mine. So now let's go on. You feed according to their need. That's what I say. You put them in one stall. My mules are in a 10 by 20 stall. Well, Steve, that's awful small. My wife's mule at 28 years old spent 26 years in a 10 by 20 stall. We got her as a 2-year-old. I trained her, and she was in that stall the whole time. Now, I know how much water she's drinking. I can see the salt lick and see how it's being used. I can see the feed and how fast she eats it or how slow she eats it. You feed, folks, according to what you're going to be doing the next day. Now, personally, I feed everything they need that night. I don't feed them the next day because these mules are working. When I was training all the time, they always were taken out of the corral every morning. I didn't want to wait around for them to finish their breakfast. Who wants to leave their breakfast? We got to finish it first, okay? You're going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to give them the feed. This way here, folks, you feed them at night. They get all the feed they need. They get all the water they need. They get all their rest. So the next morning, they're ready to go riding. Now, they're going to be standing for a month in the corral because it's wintertime. All right, feed them roughage, hay, roughage, okay? Now, you can feed a pellet, and you can increase the pellet, yes, but you don't feed them grain because it builds up too much heat in their legs. So just feed them a good grass hay, quality grass hay, Timothy, something like that. And listen, it depends on the time of the year when it's cut as to when that feed, how rich it is. So if you get a first cutting, great for cattle, no good for equine, okay? get that in your mind. Uh, when it comes down to these equine, they have a large and small intestine, and they got a big chance in that small intestine, and small intestine, that's where they get blockage, and that's where you can have problems. Okay, so feed them a good quality hay, and that's it. Not alfalfa hay. Alfalfa hay creates a lot of mineral problems with these equine. I have seen minerals that come out of intestines and this sort of thing of a horse that's died. That's as big as a softball. Not intestines, urinary tract as well. And so that's where it usually creates the problem. So don't mess with alfalfa. Feed a good quality hay and get it tested so that you know what vitamins and minerals. And here's the deal, folks. Mules, donkeys, horses need selenium. And unfortunately, most of your hays do not have enough selenium. What selenium does is it makes the intestines and the stomach and this sort of thing work. And that has to work. Okay? That has to be when they chew their feed correctly and it goes in their intestines and stuff, we don't want it much more than maybe a half an inch long, an inch at max, because we don't want any blockage in there. So there you go on your feed. We got the videos and the article right there to help too. You back to Prescott yet?
I'm getting there. We got a couple more things here that we're trying to bypass, and but everything's good. I haven't had to pull the car over too many times yet to take care of those little boys in the back. Just he's touching me.
Oh,
He's on my side. Yeah. I got a question. I got a question here from Chevy. Says, what's the best way to get forward motion when your mule gets sticky feet while riding?
Spurs. Everybody should be riding spurs. There shouldn't be no ifs, ands, and buts. And here's the deal, folks. All they got to do is hear them and know they're there. You know, you use your calf to ask, side of your stirrup to tail, your spur to demand. And when they decide, see here, they think, all right, I'm going to stay right in this area here. I'm more comfortable here. Make that area uncomfortable. Bump them with your legs. Hear that, folks? With the legs first. Ask, tail, demand. Ask them with your calves. Tail the side of your stirrups. Demand with your spurs. You'll get to where you barely have to touch them. Now, if you're concerned about that, on the ground, using the come-along hitch, introduce them to spurs. And make sure you put the spur down where your actually boot's going to be. Not up on the side, folks. Down, okay? Use your side of your hand as your calf. Use the side of your thumb as your stirrups. And then use your spur to get them to move over, okay? Bumping gets you more than a steady push.
Oh gosh, Steve, I had something on my brain, and I just
is that why your hair's sticking straight up?
Yeah, and there's a lot of gray there. I just got a haircut yesterday, so you can't see it as much, but it's coming. Yeah, I'm right behind you.
I'm getting a haircut today.
Are you getting?
I'll catch you with me yesterday.
Yeah, looking nice and fancy, looking real good for Thanksgiving. Hey, folks, if you are just now tuning in, we're so grateful to have you hanging out with us, spending a few minutes. Believe it or not, I'm in the car right now. 2014 Toyota Sienna. I got 3 little boys in the back and a lovely bride to my right side, and we're traveling to Prescott. So how in the world is that happening? And Steve's out there putting lights on his house. Well, we recorded this a little bit earlier today, so you were watching the recording of the November 24th episode. And heck, you're only going to get one November 24, 2021. So make it a good one. You don't have to wait until Thanksgiving to make this a good one. Go out there, show some love, some appreciation to some other folks. Make some other people's lives better, invest in them, and make this a great day, and just reward yourself tomorrow with some food. Of course, Steve's favorite food on Thanksgiving is food. Mine is apple pie. Would love to know what yours is. If you're watching for the first time, how it works is we just ask that you put your name, where you're watching from, and right now, your favorite Thanksgiving food in the comments section. Would love to know what your favorite Thanksgiving food is. Second thing is that you ask any and every mule or donkey question that you got. Of course, this is a recording this week, but we will be back live next week and we'll get to those. And then the third thing is that you share the broadcast. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click like on the video. YouTube loves that, and they'll recommend our channel to other folks. And if you're on Facebook, you can click the share button or just tag friends and family in the comment section. Steve, I don't have any other questions lined up for today. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we're all done with this episode?
No, folks, I don't, Dave. And you know, you talk about needing to apply thanks and giving. We live in the greatest country in the United States. Do we have our problems? Yes, you know, but we still the greatest country in this United States. We are, because we have a God who created this state. Okay, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Okay, and that's why this country is so great. Yeah, do we have problems? Yes, we have. Does God sometimes, does he sometimes push a button and allow things to happen? Yes, okay. We can read it in the Bible about the Babylonians and what happened there and other things, okay. But remember, folks, God has control of this situation. It makes no difference. He's going to have it for the best of our interest, and we're good with it. So giving thanks for our men and women who are serving the United States, who are out there putting their lives on the line when it comes down to the armed services. And then our first responders, folks, they're right there. When you're in trouble, they're there to help you. And you need to give thanks for those people as well. And then, you know, your family, you're only going to have the one family, you know, and you just got to realize that it's a beautiful thing to have that family. And Dave, it's wonderful to have you as kind of a second son. I got a kick out of Dave the other day. We took the boys and went to a car show and had some hot dogs and stuff. And one of my buddies was there, and I introduced Dave as my son.
Yeah.
And he looked at him and he looked at me. It was kind of funny seeing the look on his face. But I said, "These are my three grand boys." I didn't say I kind of adopted them, you know. But anyway, folks, Dave here, he's an awesome guy. And Dave, I can't tell you, every time when folks talk to me, they say, "Who's that guy that's up there with you?" You know, he knows all this stuff, and you guys work so good together. And it's amazing how many people say, "Hey, I just got done watching you and Dave on TV," you know, and I learned all this stuff. Listen, folks, do it yourself. You didn't buy the mule to take and be frustrated. Are you going to be frustrated once in a while? Yeah. But you're going to get really frustrated when you give it to somebody else to train and you say, "Oh, man, he's not doing what I want him to do, Steve." Yeah, that's right. He'll do the same thing with you. He did the same thing with me. I didn't get 72 years old with broken bones because I got everything done right.
Right.
I learned the hard way. So I'm trying to give you the easy way. Dave right here brought you me, you know. If it wasn't for this guy here, you guys wouldn't see this old man here. You'd see me out there riding on the side of a mountain, moving a cow, or maybe going fishing. You know,
it was a crazy idea several years ago. I was like, "Hey, Steve, there's this thing called live streaming." Steve's like, "Live what?" He's like, "It's not raining out here." I said, "No, not raining, not streaming like streaming rain, not fishing." I was like, "Live streaming like video." He's like, "Well, if you think folks will watch." I said, "Yeah, I think folks will watch." And we've had thousands of people watch, probably tens of thousands of people. And a couple of things you said right there, Steve, that I just want to piggyback on. We're coming up at the bottom of the hour here, so we'll wrap it up. But number one, we do have so much to be thankful. And for Steve and I, we both believe that God is the creator. We believe that creation was in need of a saving, that if creation could have saved itself, well, by golly, we would have saved ourselves by now. But we can't save ourselves, and that's why God sent Jesus. And Jesus came to do for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. But still, there are things in this world that are just not good. And the idea that that God would sit back neutral, that's an easy idea to think of, but it's just not accurate. God weeps. They're all throughout Scripture. God weeps when His creation is hurting. And shortest scripture in all the Bible, you probably heard it one way, shape, or form, is Jesus wept When Jesus came, he was 100% man, 100% God, but experienced the emotion and the feelings that we experience too. But any goodness that exists in this world is what's known as common grace. It is because God chooses to continue to be present and chooses to continue to be active in this world that we can experience common grace. So joy, that's common grace. Whether you believe in God or not, that's common grace. That's God being present and active in this world. And happiness and fulfillment and food and shelter, all of these things are examples of common grace. And even in the instances where those things are not present, it's not that God chooses to be absent. God mourns with those things. But at the same time, God provided a way to make those things right. That is through Jesus. And it will not be made right here on earth, but it will be made right in the end. And so we are thankful for all of the blessings that God has given us. We do believe that those come. And if that's not where you're at right now, if that's not true of you, that's okay. We're so glad that you're here hanging out with us, spending a little bit of time with us about something that we all can agree are amazing, and that is the mule and the donkey. And then one other thing that I wanted to say, Steve, you talk about going to the car show. I can't tell you how many times Steve's back there. Y'all don't realize how many talents this man has. If you hang out with Steve and you see him in real life, he's the real deal. And I'd like to say I'm the real deal too. If you hang out with us, it'll be just like, you'll be like, you're the same person in real life that you are on the show. And that's what we love about doing this, is it's just who we are. This is what you'll experience. But Steve will reveal to you all sorts of different talents. Steve was DJ Donkey at this car show, back sitting behind the mixer, playing the music on his iPod, and every 15, 20 minutes or so, he'd grab the microphone and he'd say, hey, folks, thank you for coming out to the East Valley Cruisers. We got great cars out here for you today. Matter of fact, we've got these arts and crafts up here. Men, it's the time that you go ahead and get your holiday shopping done now for your sweetheart. We got hot dogs over here. And right over there, I've got my grandsons. The boys thought that was the coolest thing. They've said probably a half dozen times, Steve, telling the story to other folks. They said, Mr. Steve announced us to everybody. He announced us to everybody. And they just thought that was the coolest. They'll probably say it 2 or 3 more times telling the story up here with family. Hey, you know what? We just pulled into Prescott, Steve. We just pulled in. This cabin looks awesome.
Yeah. Nice and cool, huh?
Nice and cool. We're going to enjoy this, all right. Hey, folks, thanks for hanging out with us. Steve, thanks for taking some time to meet a little bit early so we could make this happen. And I could get off work a little bit earlier from my family. And it's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to next week being back live. How about you?
All right, buddy. Me too.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Enjoy the long weekend, and we'll see you next week. God bless.